So welcome to Consecrated Conversation Podcast, where we get into conversations that your church family and community probably not talking about. I'm your co-host, Danye Wise, and this is my beautiful bride, Brenda Wise. Say hey to the people.
Hey.
Yeah, so guys, welcome back. For those who are tuning in for the second or third time, this is episode 3. And for those who are newly tuning in, welcome. Thank you for joining the community, joining the conversation. So for those who, this is your first time listening, just so you know, a little background of this podcast, how I got started. We would have conversations and we would have these consecrated conversations that would be impactful, and people around us was like, hey man, y'all need to record this. So that's how we got started. And so you can go back and watch the episode 1 about like us procrastinating. It took us so long for us to do it. But so the last episode, I shared my testimony. And so this episode, Brenda will be sharing her testimony. And our goal is to, the next episode after this one is to show you guys how our testimonies tie in together. And then from there, we'll get into all kind of other topics, as the Lord leads us. We have a deliverance ministry, and we've been married since 2015. We've been through a divorce, both of us individually, and now we're married. And so we just want to share with you guys, hey, how God can redeem you, how God can restore you. And I know that her testimony is going to touch a lot of lives. And so even as we were praying before we went live on here and we started recording, I was just reminded of what the Lord told me about her. And I want to say it in front of the camera because I want to publicly be like a record and showing that you know how much I love you. And so the scriptures is Proverbs 31. Every time I think about you, I think about these scriptures. I think about Proverbs 31, specifically this one. And it says, who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. I'm getting emotional right now because this really touches me, man. This is how I feel about my wife. And then this last scripture, a part of it, the whole part is you. And this part that really hits me, it says, her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. And so that's how I feel about you, love. I really do. I really appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much for just like who you are, so I love you. Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to just acknowledge her and let her dive into her testimony. Okay. Go ahead, love bug. You got it.
Okay. Well, I'm Brenda Wise.
Amen.
Just a little bit about me. I am a wife and a mother of 6 daughters, but since we are a blended family, we have 9 children in total. I do want to make a quick disclaimer because there may be some family members who actually watch this podcast. I do want to say that my intentions are not to shame anybody or, just like to be pointing the finger. It's really to expose the spirit in the bloodline and spirits within us. These generational things that are in the bloodline. But in order for us to heal and to break these cycles, these things have to be exposed.
Amen. Yeah.
So, but I do want to start off from like the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. This may run into like maybe 2 episodes for you because I know you got a long testimony. It does, and it's powerful.
Yeah. I don't know how long it'll be, but I may just like condense it and not, share fully things until maybe we talk about other, certain topics and things like that I can explain some more things.
Okay, yeah.
But around the age of 3 years old, I used to get spiritually attacked. At the time I didn't know that was going on, but I was, I had to actually ask my dad because I started having dreams of a particular house. And I, called my dad and asked him, hey, Dad, did we live in this particular home? I was, describing the house, the inside of the room, and things like that. And so he's the one that actually told me I was 3, and I didn't realize, what age I was. I used to tell my husband that, when I was younger, that I used to see demonic spirits. I used to see black figures sitting in the room. But until, I don't know, maybe it was like a year ago when I asked my dad about this particular house. So I do know that I was 3. And so, when I was 3, all the way, until adulthood, that I would, see, demonic spirits in the room. They would sit on my bed. They would, choke me,
like sleep paralysis type stuff?
Yeah, like sleep paralysis.
So you having it as a kid?
As a kid. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, throughout, even at a young age, that spirit of fear had creeped in because I was fearful. I had the revelation about it not till I was older, but, I had to, go back and, even through therapy, having to go back and recognize, fear came in when I was 3 years old. And so, so throughout that time, I had, spiritual things that were happening
that you didn't even understand. Probably,
that
right?
I did not understand.
Yeah.
I did not understand. I was actually raised in church. We, me and my parents, we would go to church. And we did go to a United Pentecostal church at first, and then we went to Pentecostal and non-denominational. But at 10 years old, that was when my parents had separated. And so this is where, for me, where I've already had fear, but I also started having other things happen to me. And so at the age of 10, I remember this time that, one day after school, and I'm going to talk about it. Yeah. But, one day after school, I get home and, I see my dad crying at the table. And, my dad, in the moment, I was like, man, I'm seeing this grown man cry. I'm seeing my dad cry like a baby.
Right.
And, I asked him what was wrong, and his first words were, your mom left us. And, that was when I didn't understand, but I'm like, why are you crying? What do you mean she left us? Like, did she go to the store? I didn't understand, but he had to sit down and explain to me that they were no longer going to be together. And so that is where I felt like, now from fear, now I feel rejected, abandoned, and
probably even unloved too, right?
And unloved because I thought I did something wrong. I'm like, I really thought I did something wrong. I'm like, what did I do for my mom to leave me? And again, this is no bashing against my mom. It's just, what happened. I love my mom. And so
this is what you were experiencing in that moment as a kid. Like, and that's something important for. That's why we're probably talking about it. Like, we don't understand the impact that even words we don't explain to kids. Kids take on a lot. We take on a lot and blame ourselves. That's the enemy. He comes in to use that to be like, it's your fault. Look what you did. Like, you don't even know what's going on. Yeah, and your dad didn't probably have the language to tell you really exactly what's going on. Yeah, and even thinking about his situation, right? His dad leave when he was younger too, right?
Yeah, my dad, his dad left him when he was young too.
And your mom too.
And my mom too.
Wow.
And
so that spirit of abandonment, right?
Generational.
On both ends.
On both ends, yeah.
See? Yeah, we're getting led by stuff we don't even know.
Abandonment and rejection.
Yeah.
And so that is really, where the rejection and the abandonment and, confusion too, because I didn't understand the aspect of why would a parent leave, and
so it had to be a reason, but you don't know.
I didn't know the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I did know, when as I got older, my mom would, she explained, explained it to me. And, my mom was very, kind, because she would tell me, even in those moments of her coming to see me and, and picking me up and dropping me off, we had to start doing, those kinds of, the whole, co-parenting thing. And so she would explain to me, like, I can't right now, but I love you. And, so she would make it very clear to me that she loved me and that she just couldn't in the moment take me, which I'm like, at first I was like, man, I want to be with my mom, but as I was living like with my dad, I had to start encountering things even with him. And I do want to say this again, I love my dad, and though he was the one that abused me, I still had to go to God and ask him to show me, when I got older, to show me how to forgive him, because at the time, from the age of 10 to 14, my dad did, I don't know if it gets,
you can say it,
but like sexually abused me. Yeah. And so I had to deal with that for 4 years, but I never told my mom, like, until I was 30. So when my mom would pick me up, so and
like 20 years you held on to that? 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, because I was,
Yeah, like 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So 20 years.
So, wow. I never, when she would tell me, like, oh, I can't take you right now, or things like that, I started, like, crying a lot. I'm like, please don't leave me. But she didn't know.
Why.
She didn't know why. I would try to, like, hang on to her, like, don't leave me, don't take me back.
That was you speaking out in that moment, but she didn't know, because, and that's, again, we're sharing these things because the importance of us having discernment, even our kids crying out to us and we don't know, because our generation, we got whooped for crying. Stop crying.
Yeah.
Or shut up, stop them tears. But your child may be crying out for something more. But they're speaking to you. Their voice may have gotten taken from the abuser, from the monster, from the spirit that's trying to take them. But they're still crying. Their tears are telling you something. And so I know we get busy in life, right? We get busy and we're so focused on maybe providing and trying to do something. But is your child crying out to you in that moment, like, hey, this is more than that?
Yeah.
They even kind of remind me of the situation with Heaven. Remember when she was getting her hair done, and she was like, "Hey, like,
she was crying."
And it was like, we was like, "Hold on, you feel what's going on? You not feeling safe?" And she was like, "I don't feel safe." And it was like, because she wanted somebody to be there with her, right? Remember? So it was like, "All right, cool." Like, but ain't nobody doing it to you, right? She was like, "No." She's like, "All right, you know, I can tell us." She's like, "No, she just doesn't feel safe." And just being aware that and acknowledging those feelings in that moment for the child, like, hey, I hear you, I see you. Just because you feel that don't mean it's true, but it could be. And so, what do you need us to help you out in this moment? Well, I just need somebody else to be here with me, like my sister. Okay, cool. You cool being here with her, Mia? Yeah, I'm good. All right, cool. Like, right? Remember? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, just want to kind of drop that in there, right?
Yeah, because that's just showing that you know, a lot of times our kids are talking to us and we're not paying attention to the signs.
Yeah, the signs.
You know, and we're thinking that they're just crying, but there's a reason why they may be crying when it comes to like certain situations, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've had you know, even from the age of 10 to 14 years old, you know, I know that my dad did the best that he could. Yeah. You know, being a single father with a daughter, you know, who was going, you know, through all these changes and, you know.
Think about his past, right? Him going up 11, having to work.
Yeah, and so like even my dad was very young when he started having, you know, he had to work at you know, he would say 11, 12 sometimes, you know, but so whenever he started working, he worked the fields and he started working at a very young age, you know, but even then it's like he parented the best way that he knew how to parent. Now I don't, you know.
You have a dad. And do it. So what's the example he got, right?
Again,
not making excuses
and
for
that's
behavior.
what I was going to say. I'm not making excuses for what he did for me, to me, but I am sharing this because I want people to know and see restoration. You know, I want people to see that God can restore things if it is something that he's called you to do. You know, I'm not saying that if you had someone abuse you for you to be their best friend. Totally not saying that. I'm not saying that you have to go and wine and dine with them, you know, as people say the same, but, you know, to go have dinner and, you know, all these things, like, I'm not saying that. But, you know, for me, I know that this is what God called me to, you know, to allow the restoration process to begin as an adult. But, you know, I'm going to go back from the age of 10 to 14, I was sexually abused. I was not only sexually, but also physically, you know, because the way that he parented, and it was just not the way you should, you know.
Abusive,
he was, he would, you know, slap me in my face, and, you know, he would like hit me with the belt, and he was the type of person that it landed where it landed, and, you know, I'd have to go to school with long shirts and making sure that I wasn't showing my body because I always had like whelps on my arms, you know, and my legs and stuff like that. And, you know, even as I was like in middle school, we had PE. What did we do? We put on shorts, and, you know, then we would take, you know, showers and things like that. So I was always like trying to cover myself because
you light skin. I'm just saying, like, you white, so it's like, that's gonna show you.
Yeah. If I get a like this, I'll get a whole red mark. But
I joke and be like, "Look, stop putting your hand on your face. Somebody gonna think I'm slapping you." Like, no. Yeah, nah. Yeah.
But, you know, as my face gets red right now. But, you know, I mean, I just, you know, I was always having to, like, cover myself. And even then, I felt like I just couldn't say anything, you know. I felt like my voice was taken away from me, that I just couldn't say anything.
Lord.
Like, because I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. Who do I tell?
Yeah.
You know, who am I going to tell?
Yeah. Or did you even feel like somebody, when they may not believe you? Did you feel like that, or you just feel like you were scared to say something?
I was scared because I was scared of my dad.
Oh, yeah. So you were scared even if you say something, he'll find out, he'll do something to you? Yeah. That's that spirit, though. Spirit of fear is still there.
Yeah,
like,
because
intimidation, trying to get man.
It's because I started getting bad grades in school, and so the things that he would say is like, hey, because you got a C in English, I'm doing this to you. So he would try to justify his actions because of I made a bad grade.
Yeah, he was basically blaming the victim for the perverted things that he was doing, right? And it was really a spirit of perversion.
Yes.
Yeah, that may have even been passed on to him by, you know.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But again, not excusing it. It's just understanding we operate in deliverance, so we know, hey, man, there's a spirit behind this thing. Once you get set free from that spirit, you can get free from that. You repent and get freed. And so, yeah, we show a level of grace to people because we understand. Like, hey, it's something behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I had to endure these things, for 4 years. And then at the age of 14 is when I moved with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so even at that time, it was a lot of things that I just didn't know,
So, because I do remember right before you get to that, think about, didn't you say you used to get in the fights?
Oh, yeah.
Angry and rage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you want to kind of get in that, because that stemmed from that. That stemmed from your abuse, right? Mm-hmm. You used to get mad and punch walls. You said something like that, right?
Yeah, I used to punch walls and, make a hole in the wall, and I would try to punch the same area so my dad wouldn't, know that I was punching the walls, and I would, put a little picture or something to cover it up, and then finally he I had to fix some stuff because what you do this, and I would lie, I hit the hammer too hard on there.
But that's important because you said, okay, you was getting abused, and from your abuse it caused anger.
It did.
So you would go to school and get in the fights too,
I
right?
used to get
then you come back home and get into trouble.
Yeah.
And then he would, because you got in trouble, I'm gonna abuse you again.
Yes.
The cycle repeating.
Yes, it was a cycle because that's exactly what would happen is that I would I started getting into fights at school. And so, and in order for me to not get suspended, he would always go up there and tell them, oh, it's because, we're having some problems at home. And so he would say that him and my mom separated. So the first few times it worked, but then after that, they're like, okay, there has to be some type of disciplinary action because of her behavior. Yeah. And so I was getting in trouble a lot, fighting. And then I was also getting bullied at school, by somebody. Yeah. So from a boy, but then it was like, I'm getting bullied at school by a guy, and then I get home because I got in trouble at school, and then my dad's doing things, perverted things to me, and that was my punishment, if I wasn't getting spanked with the belt, that was my punishment. Wow. And so
the sexual abuse.
Yeah. And so, when I was 14, when I was 14, that's when I moved with my mom. Mm-hmm. And so, and Mom, if you're watching, I love you, but I do want to say this part of it. I know this is part of her, her testimony, but this is also part of mine because, I had to watch her get physically abused
in one of her relationships.
In one of her relationships that she was in after my dad. And then he was very aggressive with me as well.
But didn't your grandmama go through that similar situation with your grandfather? Wasn't he kind of abusive or whatever? Or aggressive, I guess?
I guess he was aggressive. Yes. Okay. Yes, he was.
Okay.
I don't know 100% of those details, but I know with my mom, I watched her go through these things. And of course, as a child, even 14-year-old, it would break my heart to see her. Fear? And I was fearful, but it would break my heart to see her go through this. And then, now it's I started thinking, hey, if I ever have kids, I will never let them go through what I'm going through. And so that just really started playing.
That started leading you, right?
Yes, that started a narrative in my mind. And I would always think that when I get older, when I start having kids, and really I had started asking my mom even too, Mom, when did you have me? And so she had me at a young age. And I'm I'm going to have
teenage age? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so she was 16 or 17, I think. Yeah. And so I started, even thinking that I'm going to have my kids young too. Because she had, I started thinking that because.
You thought that?
Yeah, I thought that.
Wow.
And I'm I want to have, because I thought my mom was cool.
Yeah.
At the time, because You know, I just thought she was cool because my mom would actually go, she would take me places, and there was several times that she took me to the club with her, and so you know, to the bars, and I was just like, hey, you know. And so yeah, like even one time for her birthday, I want to share this, it's really funny, but she had some strippers.
Oh, wow.
She's gonna be like, Brenda, why did you share that? But you know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, I just started just thinking that, hey, one day when I become a mother, I want to be a young mother too.
Wow, like
like my mom.
Wow, 'cause you think it's cool. Yeah.
I thought it was cool because she's cool, and I was like, I feel like, you know, she's a cool mom, so I want to be a cool mom too.
Yeah.
But you know, throughout the time that I was like living like with my mom, I've watched the process of her getting abused. I've watched I had to deal with him as well. You know, him forcing me, grabbing me from my arm, you know, dragging me to go watch him do what he was going to do to my mom, and me crying and screaming.
So you went from one abuse household to another abuse household. The devil was in there, in the middle of all that, right?
Yeah. And so, when I was 15 years old, I don't know if I can say this word because I don't know if it'll get.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, I got raped. And so now it's like, okay, my dad did this. Now someone else did this to me. Yeah. And so I started living like a lifestyle of I have to drown the pain, drown the trauma. And so I started drinking at a young age.
Like were they like 15?
Yeah, I was 15 years old when I started drinking. I did try smoking because I was like, oh, I need something to calm me down, you know. But I ended up getting sick. So the cigarette thing wasn't for me. I threw up in my mama's bed. But you know, but yeah, I mean, I started, you know, drinking a lot, and I actually used to go to like corner stores and ask older people to buy me alcohol.
We did that too.
And they would buy it for me. Yeah. So I'd be like, I got money. Yep. And so, but yeah, you know, I was, you know, secretly drinking. My mom didn't know. And, you know, even at the time, like my mom had, you know, kind of like her own thing going on. And me, I was just like doing my own thing. And, you know, I started hanging out with, you know, people who actually did drugs. And, you know, so I started like running the streets.
Look at the enemy here, John. You putting them agents around, right? Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I had one particular friend that I started hanging out with, and she introduced me to this guy, and he was also one who sold drugs and, you know, was so-called in a gang and, you know, and things like that. And at that time, you know, that's when, you know, I thought I was like in love and in a relationship and things like that. So, you know, I ended up getting pregnant.
Yep.
And so
he was older than you?
Yeah, he was. I didn't know how much older he was than me, but
you know, you were still in high school.
I was still in high school. Okay. Yeah.
So you did what you wanted to do, was get it pregnant like your mom, right? Cool.
Yeah.
But you thinking you got the dude though, like he loved me, I'm good.
Yeah,
I really love, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing. You know, even at that age, I used to listen to music. Whoever it was at that time, you know, and I'm like, I wish somebody would love me, you know, because I didn't really feel loved, you know. After I moved with my mom, let me say this, you know, my dad wasn't really like in the picture anymore. Yeah. You know, I think he may have felt shameful and focused so much on work because of what happened, you know. And so my dad wasn't really like in the picture anymore. He was, once he found out that I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, he did, buy some stuff and things like that. He said, I want to support you, but he also wanted me to marry the guy. And I just couldn't.
Oh, he's old school.
Yeah, he was old school. Yeah.
Pregnant, get married.
He's like, you're good enough to be a mom. You better learn how to be good enough to be a wife. And I'm like, no, he's a cheater. Like he has, hickeys on the neck. I didn't do that because I didn't know how to make hickeys at the time. Wow. I was like, I don't know what those are, but, how do you make them?
Yeah, I didn't do that. Wow.
And so, I had to... I was, as they say, looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah. I was trying to fill the void, drown out the trauma and the pain and the fear of man, the fear of, is he going to pop up? Is somebody going to do this to me? I was always looking over my shoulder when it came to, men in general, because a lot of times I didn't trust them.
Then you had a daughter.
And then I had a daughter.
So
then that's where everything, I'm drinking. Mm-hmm. Of course I stopped drinking when I got pregnant, but it's like I have my first daughter, and then I just get so protective over her because I'm like, I can't let her go through the things that I went through. Yeah. And then not long after, I started dating somebody else, and then now I got pregnant again.
That's two.
That's my second daughter.
How old were you?
19.
So you're still a teenager. Like, you want to be cool, still the cool mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I had my first daughter on my 18th birthday, and then I got pregnant again around 1920. And
that's a significant part of the story, though, because your baby was a biracial baby.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my when I had my second daughter is a mixed child and with black and and so my dad I happened to run into him at a family member's house, and he seen my daughter, my second daughter, and I remember even trying to get him. I was trying to pass him to her. Mm-hmm. I mean, pass her to him. And he's like, I'm not going to hold her. And I felt bad because I'm
That's
like,
rejection again.
Yeah. Because I'm like, bro, she's a baby. Yeah. How are you going to do that over her skin color because she's half black? Yeah. And so...
Because you're Hispanic, as people know.
Oh, yeah, I'm Hispanic.
Yeah.
And
he was old school. He was very old school. And during that time, we understand there was a lot of, discrimination. And a lot of ignorance behind it. People didn't know. They just thought certain things about certain races.
Yeah, but you got to remember, too, I come from a very small town. Yeah. And so... growing up in that town, I didn't see black people. And I didn't see other races like that either. So either I didn't know how to distinct them, but I knew that there was white people and Hispanic people.
So you didn't even
and
know.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's
the ignorance part. We don't know.
And so because when I moved with my mom when I was 14, it was a culture shock for me because I'm like, who's that? What are they? Yeah. And it's because I didn't know. I'm like, what was that? Yeah. And, and of course, I make this joke sometimes when I share with people, but when I did see, someone that had a melanin in their skin, I'm like,
some black people.
I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah. You already know.
But I'm like, because I'm like, I want one of those, Amen. I was like, yes. But, I did.
Vice versa, boo. Yeah.
But I did,
You're just skin tone, man.
I know.
I'm just saying, people get so caught up in that. And it's like, we got to get past that, man. Mm-hmm. We're spirit.
Yeah.
We're spirit. We're made in the image of God. Mm-hmm. And so our body is the melanin. It's just a vessel that's carrying our spirit and our soul. That's what this is, man.
Yeah.
Like this don't make us.
No.
This don't make us.
No.
You know, so anyway.
But I was young. You know,
I'm just saying,
so,
think back, how where we came from. It's just like, dang, we know we grew up in that era. Racism was kind of around. It still is now, but it's not as it was back then.
And so it was back then because my dad used to call black people colored people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so of course, I'm showing up with the colored kid in his eyes. And so I'm like, and so in that moment, my dad did tell me like, you're a disgrace to the family. He disowned me, and he didn't want to have anything at all. He said I would never amount to anything. Wow. And so
he spoke curses.
He was so he was literally rejecting me again, and speaking word curses over me. Yeah. And so now I had to carry like a broken record in my mind the things that my dad was saying. Dang, now I have 2 baby daddies, and I'm not married. Now I get pregnant again with my 3rd daughter. It was the same, as my 2nd daughter. He's the same father.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's, but even in those moments, like when I was, having sex with him, even in those moments, like the last time the thing that he spoke over me was, hey, nobody's gonna want you with 3 kids. And like he was, and I know that was a demonic spirit speaking out of him, because he's like, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. I don't want nobody else to have you.
Was he aggressive too, though? When he kind of aggressive when he came on to you in the beginning?
In the beginning, he was.
Like, so I'm just saying that, bringing it up because the trauma you've been through, when you've been through trauma and stuff like that, almost like that fight or flight, that freeze. So it's like, bro, it's like you too, bro. Like you already been raped, and it's like you too, bro. Like you gonna like that. And not saying you may did kind of be like think he was cute, whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah,
I mean, I thought he was cute, but at the same time, it was something that I wasn't willing to cross the line with him.
Yep.
But because he was aggressive and he thought that, I don't know, in the moment that my no was a yes, and I'm like, just because I always smile. That's my thing. Yeah. Even when I was in pain and if I was hurting, I would still smile. Yeah. When I'm saying no, I would, in that moment, I was saying no, get off me, but I was still smiling because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening to me again.
Jesus.
And again and again. And I just, it's like I'm trying to cry, but I gotta smile. Like how, they would say, hey, suck them tears up, put a smile on your face. And so that was that. I'm like crying, wanting to cry, but let me smile, know. And I
flight freeze. I'm just saying.
I mean, I lived my life like that. I lived my life like that since 10 years old. Yeah,
I told you that the other day about getting your no back. Remember? Like, getting your get your no back. No. Yeah. They trying to come. The enemy tried to come steal your voice. No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Say it right now.
No.
I mean, okay, so that happened. I don't want to separate you,
and so after that happened, now I have all my 3 girls. I had become I secluded myself in my house. I said I can't let nobody hurt them.
Wow.
I can't let nobody molest them, rape them. Yeah. Now I'm a single mother with 3 kids, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? Now my mom's helping me. Yeah. That's another thing,
Well, was she still married? Or
no.
So she was single too now. So she's a single mom.
She's single.
With a
daughter.
With
3 kids.
Girls,
yes.
3 granddaughters.
Yes.
Trying to help support this.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because, my mom was dating somebody, but then it's just kind of like okay, she's dating somebody, and then she wasn't, then she started dating someone else.
Yeah.
Which she eventually, she got married to him. Okay. But, it's like, in that time, within these few years, only, I'm having, now I have the 3 girls, and I am also seeing, I do want to rewind a little bit. Even in this moment, I was still going to church. My mom started going back to church because I had stopped going to church for a while because, my mom, was doing things on her own. And so we weren't going to church. She was doing her thing. I don't know exactly everything that she was doing, but I know what I was doing, and I was drinking. I was going to parties and, smoking weed and, things like that. So even in those times, I was still trying to mask the pain. I need to forget what the body touches and, all the things that was going in my mind that played like a broken record. In addition to now, I have baby daddy number one. Like, he was not in my daughter's life. He went to prison. Now I'm dealing with baby daddy number two. He left, went to jail, and then he left to another state. And so it was like, okay, I'm a real single mom where I don't have anybody help like that, from the fathers, aspect of it, but my mom.
And your dad said no.
And my dad said no. My dad, because and then there's another thing. I had another colored kid to him. So it was like, he was more like, And, so my dad had gotten remarried and, so he really we didn't talk. And we didn't talk for years. And so, but now, again, I'm going to rewind a little. I am single mom, 3 children, trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what am I going to do. And, even in the midst, recently the Lord reminded me again, too. I do want to share this because God has been faithful throughout my time of life. Even though the things that I have gone through, He still protected me. Like, He still had shown up. I had 3 daughters, not married, 2 different guys. And I was working, Dairy Queen. I worked at Cracker Barrel. I worked at, places just wherever I could get a job to, take care of my kids. And I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I have to take care of my kids. And what can I do? But there's times I didn't have money. There was time, before, before I had the girls, we didn't have a place to stay, so we were homeless,
Like and your mom, right?
Me and my mom, so it's like we went from homelessness to we had to, we were, as people say, couch surfing, and so at that time, we, my mom just did what she could. But even then, like, God reminded me, hey, I was blessing y'all then. When you had your children, you had 2 in diapers, I was blessing you then. This is why the pastor was giving your mother money. There was people, different random people, just always blessing us. But we didn't, at the time, I didn't know why. My mom didn't know. Like, she was like, I didn't tell nobody. And God knew what we were going through. God knew, because I remember this one time that I was like, oh my gosh, I have no diapers for my daughters. And I think I had 1 diaper left. One. And I wasn't working. And my mom, somebody blessed her. And we went and, got diapers and stuff. But, then shortly after that, after I had all my girls, I was probably now around the age of 21. Now this is where things started I said I really need a hustle to get money, And so I had...
So your drive was to provide for the girls.
Yeah, that was my drive. Because I was on food stamps. I did live in Section 8 housing. And so, but I did what I had to do. you know,
You're
people,
still trying to work.
I was still working here and there or whatever.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I remember thinking like, I am so tired of, you know, working so much and it's still not enough to like, you know, get extra things, you know, like to get ahead and, you know, things like that. And so that's when I decided to work at the strip club.
Okay.
And so, but when I first started out, it was as a server.
Like a waiter?
Oh, yeah, waitress.
Waitress?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm a waiter. A waitress. Yeah. Like a host, I guess.
Yeah, I was a waitress.
Okay.
And so that's, you know, where things had started to really like, yeah, I would smoke. Yes, I was drinking a lot. But, you know, this is where I was doing those things at home. You know?
So was it because they gave you more money there? That's why? They were offering more money too.
Yeah,
Was it tips or?
Yeah, so I would get, you know, I would get good tips and stuff. But what happened is that, you know, I started working there, but I went from being a waitress to actually dancing. And so I was, you know, making money, but I wasn't like some other females who would actually had to like snort coke or, you know, pop pills and things like that to do it. I would just take a shot and do it for the whole night, and I was good. But, you know, but on the back end of it, I started popping pills. Not while I was at work, because I wanted to be sober-minded, because I'm like, I can't let nobody rape me.
Wow.
I can't let nobody sexually violate me. I just cannot let them do these things to me. So if I just do, sometimes I would do it sober. I wouldn't drink anything, you know, except water.
But you reliving abuse almost in those moments with people touching on you or whatever, like, and then you go home and self-medicate.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go home and, you know, pop pills and things like that. And so that's where then I started actually going out. And this is where I really just, I don't even know what the word is, but like I just came out of myself, you know. Yeah, like I started going to clubs and I was, you know, popping.
So we do know what it is. We operate in deliverance. So Brenda moved to the side and another spirit popped up.
Yeah.
What spirit you think that was? I don't know. You tell me.
Seduction.
Okay, yeah. Because didn't you say you had a name? You don't want to say the name on camera, whatever. But you had a name, a stripper name.
Yes.
So that you think that manifested, kind of like how Beyonce be saying, "Oh, I don't know, something come over me," and Sasha takes over.
Yes, like
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I thought I was so cute. I'm just, you know, because that's what would go through my mind, and the way I would dress.
Because that's not you doing that.
No.
Like you a different person. Operating the way you operate. That spirit took over.
And yeah, the spirit.
Disassociation too.
Yeah, I would dissociate because the thing is that I'm going to work at the strip club, and then but I'm going home and self-medicating, and then I started, just besides popping the you know, handlebars, as you know what we would call them then, but I would, and then I started popping something else, you know,
like X. Yeah, okay.
And so I would, you know, from there, that's where stuff started like really happening spiritually, you know, because then I thought like you said, like how Beyonce said, you know, something would take over. Like, you guys, I literally thought like I could just do this and there's nothing or anybody that could say to me, you know, like I'm gonna show these people who I am, because I've gotten taken advantage of. I've been taken advantage of men and people who I thought were friends, you know, because there's other stuff that I haven't said, you know, and I should say that, but you know, it's just, I was like taken advantage of since the age of 10.
So now you about to.
So now I'm like
a big dog in here now.
Yeah. So I thought in my mind at the time, I thought, no, now I'm gonna take advantage of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you before you get me.
Yes, it was. I always thought that I'm gonna get you before you get me. So I started, you know, working in that through that. allowed that spirit to manifest itself and work through me, because I was doing stuff at work.
Yeah.
I was, not only was I taking, drugs, and had addiction to drugs, alcohol. Now I'm taking money for sex. And, and then I'm like, okay, because people I'm just going to get you before you get me.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I thought that if I dress a certain way because I'm wearing see-through clothes, and I just did not care.
Yeah.
Like, I really did not care.
I mean,
Jezebel was there. Jezebel was there.
Yeah.
So I thought, I am going to get, and Delilah.
Yeah, and Delilah.
And
which probably had Lilith operating behind the scene the whole time.
Yeah.
Since you was a baby, before you was born, trying to get you when you was a kid. We ain't getting into that, but anyway.
Yeah, and so I would, I was operating like this for a while. Wow. That I'm like, I'm going to get you before you get me. And, and so I was very manipulative with a man. And, I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell them what they want to hear, but I'm going to get what I need to get from you, and so that's how I just operated for a few years.
Yeah.
Until throughout those pockets of me going out, like, guys, let me explain. I used to get high at a certain point because at this time I lived in Houston, or in Conroe, but I was driving to Houston to go to the club.
Okay.
And so that was like an hour drive.
Right.
And so there was a midway point that I would start popping my pills, drinking my alcohol. So like that, by the time I made it to the club, I was already high. I was drunk, I was high. And then, but there was so many times that we would leave the club. I don't know how I got home. I don't know how many times. There was times that I woke up and all I see is an 18-wheeler about to hit us. There was so many times that I would wake up and I'd be somewhere else. And I'm like, how did we get here? And so I was so involved in myself at that time, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to work. And, I did have, someone reliable, like, to take care of my kids. And so she would stay with me, all weekend.
I was thinking about disassociation.
But I dissociated a lot, because there's times that I would get back to the apartment and I'd be, I was dating someone. And I'm like, how did we get here? I didn't even see you at the club, because I don't remember meeting him at the club, And so
this is a lot you're talking about right now.
And so, I mean, there was so many times that I just knew, now that I'm older, that the Lord has shown me, like, He's had His hand on my life. He had been calling me back, and He had been, tugging at my heart and protecting me. Because when I tell you, love, that one time with the 18-wheeler, I was passed out on the passenger seat.
So you wasn't even driving?
I wasn't driving, but I heard, get up.
Jesus.
And I'm like, and I get up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because I was,
you was gone.
I was like, and so I had told the girl that I had went with, I was like, oh my gosh, the 18-wheeler. And she was like, huh? Because, she was high and drunk, and we were doing this every weekend. Wow. Every weekend we were driving an hour over there and then an hour to get back.
That is called grace.
That
is the long-suffering grace of our Lord. Because in that moment, if you would have died in your sin, in that moment. Yeah. Even though you've been through, I'm just saying, like, it's like the trauma. That's look at the enemy, how he tried to get us, love. Yeah. That's so crazy, because you didn't do anything to like start getting yourself into those modes. Like, it happened to you. But then you started free will coping with that stuff, because the enemy starts early. He don't care how young you are, man. He don't care how young you are. He does not fight fair. I'm gonna get you early as a baby. Start early. Little kid, I'm gonna get you. Start implanting stuff with you, so now you can make your free will decisions that are based off of his lies. Yeah. Man, I'm sorry. It just made me
no,
mad.
and you
I'm just
said
so
even
angry.
early too.
Yeah.
You know, I remember my dad telling me a story that even when my mom was going into labor with me, the doctor even said, "Hey, it's either your wife or your child." And my dad's like, "Nah, you better make sure that they're both alive when they come. You know, when you come out of that room."
Amen.
And so even then, I, now know that
Yep.
Satan had been trying to come after me from the womb.
Yep.
And then in addition to, that's why I remember certain things from starting from 3, as my dad explained to me. But,
So you back. I'm sorry, but
so now, I'm going through these things, and the turning point for me was there was a guy as I was leaving. The night was over, and he came and grabbed my arm, and I was dating someone at the time, and a big old fight broke out, and I was trying to tell the guys not to be fighting, but I was dating someone who liked to fight. He was always, I met him, we started dating, but anyways, this guy, he grabbed my arm this particular night. We were in the parking lot, and so the guys started fighting, and the fight broke out, and they ended up separating. And the guy that originally grabbed my arm, he did apologize. He said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else."
Okay.
But because the guy that I was dating and his friend, and then we had another friend that came, and he was like a boxer, and I don't know, then hit the other guy that grabbed my arm, his friends came, so a weapon became involved. And so I remember we ended up running to the car.
A weapon like a knife or a gun?
A gun. Okay, he had a gun, yeah. Right. And so he stood in front of the car, and he was about to draw his weapon, and I was sitting in the front seat, and my friend was sitting in the front seat. Everybody else hopped in the back. And so I remember seeing the cops coming because they knew that everybody was fighting. And so the cops came and were like, "He's got a gun, he's got a gun." Well, he pulled his weapon. The cops, what is it? They tackled him.
Yeah, they tackled him.
And so we took off. We're like, we don't want no part of that. We're like, go, go, go. I was telling my friend to go, and her car was parked in that parking lot. But then we went to the other parking lot where, the guy that I was dating, he was parked in the other parking lot, and so were the other people. Well, in that moment, when we pulled up, there was a bunch of cop cars. It was taped off, and people got shot and unalived. So, in that moment, I heard, "That could have been you." And I'm like, I had told him, "I can't continue to do this."
Talking about the guy you were dating?
The guy that I was dating, I told him, "I can't continue to do this because I have 3 kids and they need me. If someone takes me out, they're not going to have them, and they already don't have their father, so it's me."
Yeah.
And so at that time, that's when, I did scale back from that, lifestyle. I stopped working at the strip club. I just really couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't, I did not want to be around what I used to say, the dirty men at the strip club. I wasn't into it no more. I just felt disgusted. I felt...
Is it convicted? I don't know.
I say I felt disgusted because I felt... Working at the strip club, I felt gross, because I'm like, you have, what the stuff that goes on there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can't do that no more. I just can't. I'm going to have to figure out another way to take care of my children. But even when I started dating this guy, he also told me hey, you need to stop, doing drugs. Yeah. He was like, 'cause you're a mom. And I'm like, what does that have to do? Of course, I'd be cussing at him and stuff because I'm like, who do you think you are, my daddy? You know? And so, but, you know, I know that the Lord did send him to speak into my life because he would tell me things as he was correcting me as like a father. And, you know, I used to say that like when I first started, you know, talking to you about it, I'm like, because I felt like he was my dad, you know, there he had similarities, you know, and so I just felt like, you know, that the Lord, I knew that the Lord was speaking to me. I just, you know, at the time I didn't know, but, you know, I started, you know,
replaying it back
in my mind, knowing, oh, okay. And so now it's like, okay, I have to make a change, you know, and even throughout all this time, I still had those black figures, you know, like as people call sleep paralysis, still oppressing me. They were still choking me out. I still felt like as if they were entering, because my clothes would do this weird thing, like, you know, I would see the demonic spirit sitting on the dresser, you know, like there was just a lot of stuff that would go on spiritually,
like the figure of a human, a person, like a human.
They were like
male, female,
like a female sitting on the dresser.
Wow.
Well, later on, as I got older and started the Lord showing me stuff, I know that was Jezebel.
Look at that. Wow.
And so,
so Jezebel been after you, trying to be after you this whole time, oppressing, trying to oppress you. Jesus. Yeah. And so now it's like, okay, now I'm dating someone. I step away from the, you know, from stripping, from going to the clubs and things like that. But I actually had slowed down a lot because now my girls are older, you know. Now I moved from, you know, Conroe to Houston. I move in with him and, you know, we started building like this life, you know. I'm like, okay, I have to be a mom, you know, because that's what he told me to do. And I would still do drugs behind his back. He just didn't know. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say something. You said I still have to be a mom, but then it's like from a certain point of your life, you didn't even see what that looked like. So how did you even know what that looked like? Because you never really saw like a mom and a dad together. So even when you were with your dad, your mom wasn't there. When you were with your mom, your dad wasn't there. So how'd you know? How would you even know what they looked like? You know what I mean? You just
didn't.
Knew I need to be a mom.
Yeah,
so I'm like, probably was protection.
Mine was protection
and provide, probably. I guess.
And provide. So it's like I'm thinking.
You didn't get protected.
I didn't get. I felt like I wasn't being protected. So protection was in my mind that I had to do as a mom, and then provide came from my dad.
Okay.
You know, because my dad always talked about providing. You know, so I provide. I do this. I do that. You know, so even though he talked to me about, you know, that aspect of it, you know, of what providing may look like, that's something that I just carried, and those were my things. So I have to be a mom. But it's crazy because you know how we talk about generational curses, and we don't realize that even though we weren't taught certain things as children, how to parent, you know, like all these things that we didn't talk about in the home, because you know that's a time too that you didn't talk about stuff. You better keep your mouth shut and don't say nothing. You know,
tell nobody what's going on in our business.
It's nobody else's business. So I always carried that. So now I'm like, okay, I'm living with him and we're building a life, but now I've become this mother that I'm so overprotective, you know, and I started becoming the abuser. You know, I started becoming the abuser of, and I mean, not sexually, but physically and verbally. So I had started, you know.
Because you still have soul wounds, wounds that are still not healed. So now they're coming out. And it's probably under control. If you think about it, you probably, because you want to control the situation. If they didn't do what you wanted them to do, it made you mad.
Yes.
Because it really wasn't mad, it was fear. I want you to be safe. I don't feel safe. You don't feel safe. do what I'm telling you to do, so it won't happen to you.
Yes.
Right? That's what you're.
That's what
okay,
Wow. That was my. Of course, I didn't know the verbiage then.
Right.
But I was very controlling.
Yeah.
You know, I really controlled my kids because I never wanted them to get hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't want them. The things that happened to me,
Yeah.
I didn't want them to go through the traumas that I went through, whether it was physical.
Did any of them know that?
They didn't know that when they were younger, but when they got older, I did explain it to them.
Okay.
You know, there is things that, you know, I did tell them when they were like in middle school, because, you know, I had to start talking to them about, you know, life, you know, as people say, the birds and the bees, you know.
Okay.
But, you know, I did talk to them, you know, about, you know, things like that. It's just, you know, but I was abusive. You know, I was verbally and physically abusive to them. Like, I became what my dad was to me in that aspect of abuse. Because I started saying, well, if you don't, you know, stand this way, or, you know, and it's going to land where it lands. I didn't care.
What he was saying.
So I was repeating when I would give the girls a whooping.
Yep.
And so I started saying the things that he would tell me. And so my ex, he was like, hey, you can't do it like that. Yeah. He was like, you need to stop. He was trying to correct me, and I'd be like, well, F you too, you know, like,
he didn't probably know that you were speaking out abuse though.
Yeah.
So on his perspective, he's like, bro, you tripping right now. Right? Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because, you know, the girls would like do certain things, but I would be like, oh my gosh, like, can you stop? And don't ask me to go anywhere and spend the night. The answer is no. Like, I was very, very controlling with them because, again, I didn't want them to experience the abuse. I didn't want them to have, you know, the spirit of addiction or the spirit of perversion because of all the things that I did, you know.
You painted them out of fear.
Yeah.
Fear and,
everything was, I parented, everything was fear-based. Yeah. You know, for me, and then for them, they didn't understand, you know, and I had to ask the Lord, you know, like, as, you know, the girls are getting older, and now, well, not ask the Lord at that point. I didn't ask him. But what happened was, this is when my third daughter, she started getting dressed. And saying, Mom, take us to church. And I would be so mad. I'd be like, girl, get out of here. I'd be screaming. Yeah. I'd be manifesting. Because I would scream at her, you know, like, get out of here. I'm not taking you to church. Wow. But then she kept doing it. And doing it. And she would be dressed. Come on. And I'm like, where are you getting these dresses from? I don't remember buying you that, probably because I was too drunk, you know, but that was, you know, that's how I was parenting at the time. And, you know, I ended up, you know, I'm like, God, this is when I was just like, okay, the time that happened when, you know, the people got shot at the parking lot, and I heard that could have been me. I didn't know that was the Holy Spirit talking to me then, you know, but I thought, that could have been me. And even though I had stepped away from that, but it was like, okay, God still was giving me dreams because I'm a big dreamer. And he was still now using, oh, you're not going to listen to me because I'm talking to you through dreams, but now I'm going to use your daughter.
Okay, but so because you said go back to church, so that means you had been to church before then, right?
Yeah, so it's just throughout this time, I know I keep not making it clear, but throughout this time I was going to church. Like I was
even when you was popping pills.
Even though I was stripping, there was times that I would go to church. And I'll be like, and all I had was my stripper clothes. I really didn't have clothes, but I would still like try to find a big old jacket and I would cover myself up and I would sit in the back of the church, you know, because I felt empty. Yeah. You know, so I felt.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to say that means you were going to church even with your mom. Right? Like 14, 15. When you give your life over to God? Like that's what. So like you have a relationship with him. That's what. It's like you have a relationship with him.
Yeah, because I went to youth camp.
Okay.
Around 14, 15 years old. I went to youth camp, and that's when I had given my life over to God. And I, got baptized and,
Filled with the Holy Spirit too? Speaking in tongues?
Yeah.
At 14?
I'd be praying. I'm like...
but then you still end up... Because I mean, you hadn't got the situation with the boy, the rape stuff. That didn't happen until after that?
Yeah, it happened afterwards.
Wow. Look at the enemy, man. So I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know. I know we talk about stuff, but I didn't know that part. Like, so that happened. Your encounter with God.
Yes.
Look at the enemy come and try to steal that moment.
Yes. That happened afterwards.
Jesus, look at that. So then now speed. I'm sorry, I just want to speed back forward to kind of, because I didn't know you like going back. I'm like, okay, cool. You're doing good, love. I'm just saying. So now you fast forward. Now you going back to church. So yeah, backslid.
Yes. Because I didn't go to church for like a few years, and then every now and then I would pop in every couple months, and but I had the spirit of shame on me too, because I'm like, man, I'm a stripper and I'm here in the church, and I'm like, and look at the clothes I got on, but that's all I had. I didn't have, but in the morning sometimes I would wake up and I'm like, I gotta go to church today.
But that's so important to know what you're saying, because it's like your heart was still going, I need to go to church, but how many people don't go to church because they feel like they're going to get judged? Yeah. And so that's the importance right now. We talking, hey, we got to be careful how we judge people on the outside. You don't know what's going on inside them. So you was hurting. So you looking at a person, look how she dressed up in here. That's all the clothes she had. You ain't had the money really.
But that happened to me though. That happened to me. I remember one time, and I don't know the lady's intentions, but I went to church, and I actually had one of my dresses that I would have worn to the club on, but I had, a big jacket on, and I was trying to cover myself, and I was sitting in the very last row, and I was like, don't look at me. I was trying to hide. Yeah. But I remember she called me to the front. She goes, hey, you back there. Come up here. And I'm like, how'd you see me? I'm short and I'm hiding behind somebody, But she called me to the front, and in the moment, excuse me, I did feel shame because she did talk about my attire, what I was wearing, but I think she was trying to do correction to the women in the church.
Oh, okay.
Because she said, you have this young lady right here, and she did talk about my appearance, but she did say, hey, you have this young woman right here, and are you guys not trying to help her? Why don't you help her? Like, because I had my, my stripper shoes on, and, I just had the whole...
But you was covered.
But I was trying. But that's all I had, because, I hadn't gone to church. I didn't have like church clothes, and
Church clothes.
And so I'm like, I just gotta go. I need to go. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go today. But the lady, did call. I wasn't, I got ashamed, because I was like, bro, like, why are you calling me up here? But she prayed for me. She told the ladies that, that they should be trying to minister to me and help me. And so, but I really didn't get the
memo.
They didn't get the memo.
Oh, they didn't get the memo. So they didn't even follow through with the...
No. They didn't follow through. And so I would always get, the eyes, because even after so my daughter, like I told you, my third one, she, always getting up, hey, I'm ready, let's go, take us. Wow. But one particular day, I told the Lord, like, I started praying, and I said, God, if you want me to go, you got to show me where to go. So guess what I did? I went and grabbed the yellow pages. The phone book.
Back in the day, we definitely did not. So some of these folks gonna be like, Gen Z probably watching like, what is a phone book, bruh?
But I remember like doing this, like, okay, church, I don't know.
She ain't scrolling either. She's flipping through
I'm flipping pages. I did pick up a phone book, okay?
Okay,
but then I also got on my phone and started like looking,
It was a flip phone?
I had a no.
Okay.
I think I had, because I remember I had a small screen. I don't
okay,
know
okay.
what,
Yeah.
but either way, whatever phone I had at the time, I still, I was still looking, so I was trying to search churches, and then I happened to drive by a church. I didn't even see it. That I drove by it, but I was making a turn into the school, and I ain't never seen this church, okay? And my daughter had summer school, and so I was going to like a different school campus, and so of course I didn't see it, but I had already taken her to, to school a few times. I ain't even seen the church. And then one day I heard, "That's the church." And I'm like, I'm driving, and I'm like, huh? What church? I see a church. Oh, there's the church. And I'm trying to.
So you heard
I heard.
You knew that was God telling you that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know it was God telling me. But then I'm like, God, is that you telling me that? Because why did I hear that? I heard it, and I'm over here trying to pull into the school while I'm turning back.
You got baptized at 14. You had all them backslid, all this stuff, but God still was speaking to you.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Will never leave you and forsake you.
Nope. No. I mean, because now, of course, at the time, I'm like, oh, it's my intuition. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought, but as I've gotten, my intimate relationship with the Lord, he had to reveal, hey, this was me, and this was me, and that was me. And I'm like, well, that was you a lot of times, because of everywhere I've been, and so,
I don't know. I'm just going, because I'm looking at time too. And so I told you we may have to do two episodes, man, for your testimony, love.
Yeah.
So you want to end it now and then start up the next time with the remainder of it?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, because I know.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've been on.
Yeah, we've been for a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be that too long.
Yeah. We try to keep ours like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, no more than an hour. So
yeah. So we'll stop it right here.
Sorry, y'all. We're just trying to, again, respect time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also just don't overwhelm you guys either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll bring you guys part 2 of her episode, man. And then as we blend our testimony together. Hope y'all enjoyed this conversation, man.
Yes.
Love you guys. Talk to y'all. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask.
Yeah. And also, before I even end that too, just want to encourage you guys to subscribe, share the video, leave some comments. It's helping us, again, the algorithm, helping everything, helping people as they're finding out about these messages, man. We truly believe that God want to use not just us, but even you guys who watching, man, to like share these testimonies, share things, to have these conversations that will help change the culture in the church, because we understand that it's a lot of things that go on that people do not talk about, and so we need to have these consecrated conversations, y'all, so we can break the chains. So we'll see y'all guys next time.
Bye.